When I found out Guillermo del Toro was gonna direct a movie called Nightmare Alley, and then I saw how beautiful it looked in the trailer, I was instantly hooked. I mean, Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors of all time. He's one of my biggest inspirations. I really like how he puts all his imagination into his films, especially Pan's Labyrinth, which is basically my favorite film of all time. I was really hyped for this. I wanted to see for myself how it looked, and like seeing the cast too, I was impressed. I mean, Bradley Cooper, Toni Collette, Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara. I mean, I was really, really drawn into this, and I finally saw it this year. It came out a month later, actually, in Mexico, so that was kind of a bummer. I wanted to count it for my top of 2021 list, but I guess I had to wait an extra month, even though Guillermo del Toro is Mexican, which doesn't make any sense. But anyways, let's go on to the movie. I'm gonna go explore a lot of the themes that it covers because this movie has a lot of things to dissect. I really think this is a very deep movie, and I really enjoyed it. So, anyways, let's go on talking about some of the things I liked visually with the film. So let's talk first about one of the things that I enjoyed the most about Nightmare Alley, which is the visual aesthetic. This movie is beautiful from beginning to end. I mean, the environments that Del Toro created here are just nothing short of a beautiful, amazing, dark, especially with the 1940s aesthetic, which gives it an old timey feel, mixed with the carnival, and then it explores the city. Just every single shot in the movie is incredible. There's especially some beautiful like wide shots outdoors that are just incredible with the sunset, and I just you can really tell that he went full on with the visual aspects. And this is something I really appreciate in some of his movies, which are very setting oriented. You can see it in Pan's Labyrinth, you can see it in The Devil's Backbone, which are just incredible in every sense of the word. I really enjoyed this. And the settings of the film are also used to tell the story. It is basically divided in two main sections, which each cover different aspects of Stanton, which is the main character of the movie, played by Bradley Cooper. And I think this is one of Bradley Cooper's best roles to date, especially towards the end, which I'll talk about more later. But the movie focuses first on how he became this sort of like a mentalist figure as part of a carnival act. So what he does is like he tries to like guess people's lives, their past, like kind of like some kind of trick which he uses to analyze people. And it's something that a lot of people believe. They thought like, oh, somebody goes into my mind and reads my thoughts or contacts the spirits, but it's actually like a lot of con artistry. There's like a lot of charismatic things that people use to figure out people's past, like some like basically on their shoes or their tendencies. And I thought it was really amazing. It actually made me investigate a little bit more about mentalism, which is in itself a very fascinating subject. But the story revolves around that. Bradley Cooper basically becomes this sort of figure which starts kind of innocent, but then kind of like devolves into this like con artist figure that is explored later in the story. So in the beginning of the movie, Stanton, as he discovers like his abilities to do this, he falls in love with Rooney Mara's character, who like becomes his romantic partner, and they start off really well. And this is kind of like a reverse hero's journey where the character starts off like well, like kind of like grounded on Earth, and then he starts like devolving as the story progresses. And this goes on to the second half of the story, which is basically him. He's a professional mentalist. He goes around and like performs for rich people. He starts making a lot of money, and he decides to go after bigger targets. So he kind of like contacts this fantastic character, which is played by Cate Blanchett, which is sort of like a therapist, and then he like with her tries to use her patients to make more money. And this basically leads into like a kind of like a hoax he's planning for the one of the characters, which is a rich guy. And I think it really, really does a great job at telling the story and how he keeps like escalating and escalating, and also how he keeps deteriorating with time. He starts basically not drinking, and then he becomes an alcoholic. He becomes more aggressive towards Rooney Mara's character. And I think that aspect of the story where he basically becomes this sort of like more corrupt being over time, like morally corrupt, is just amazing. I think Del Toro did a great job with the writing, and although it becomes kind of like slow in certain areas, I think the movie does a great job of telling the story and also like figuring out how to use these aspects in a great way. And the aspects I talk about are the psychological part, which is basically a great thing to have because we don't get like many psychological thrillers much nowadays. And it's a really big step for Guillermo del Toro because he's mainly known for fantasy, for kind of like horror oriented fantasy stories. So a psychological thriller was a great way to continue his abilities. I think he's proven himself to be a very versatile director, and that's one of the things I liked about Nightmare Alley. So there's a scene in the middle of the movie that kind of serves as a foreshadowing for a later scene at the end, which is basically the final one, and it basically provides a very shocking ending. And I think it did it really well. There's a lot of movies that do this kind of like this. Uh, scene that is intended to shock the audience, to provide a plot twist, and not many of them pull it off, but I think Guillermo del Toro did it really well. And basically, Bradley Cooper's acting in the scene was just fantastic too. I thought it was just so great and so mesmerizing, and I just really want to say like how great the acting was. I really enjoyed the acting in the movie, the environments. I think it was a great way to wrap it up, and it provides a lot of things to analyze. There's a lot of like topics related to like psychoanalysis. They talk about a lot of different things. So I think he did a great job without doing any like supernatural things like in Pan's Labyrinth, The Devil's Backbone. I think Guillermo del Toro did a great job with it, just like a purely psychological thriller ride that I highly enjoyed. So anyway, I really enjoyed Nightmare Alley. I think it's a great movie. I think it's gonna be one of the best of 2022. And yeah, I think those are pretty much all my thoughts. It really deserves a second watch. I think I'll watch it again soon, sometime in the future, because I like this movie a lot. So, anyways, I think I'm gonna give Nightmare Alley an 80 out of 100. Like I said before, there's some scenes in the middle that kind of like slow down the movie, but overall, I thought it was a great. They did a great job with it. So, anyways, I think that's everything for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.